What's up? This is Caleb from Beartooth. You're watching Heavy Consequence on Consequence of Sound.
The latest album is Disease, and from what I understand, you played every instrument and did the vocals in the studio.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are, Prince?
I know, right? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do that for all the Beartooth albums.
Yeah. Can you talk about that process of
Yeah,
recording?
sure. For me, I mean, it was just like I've always played all the instruments, but I've always sang in bands. And when I started writing this music, that's just how I wrote it. It was just me playing all the instruments and putting whole songs together, and I fell in love with it. And when I started putting a band together, I was just like, hey guys, this is kind of like the way it works, and are you cool with this? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. So I don't know, for me it's just like really comfortable, especially writing music as like personal as Beartooth songs are to me. It just gives me like an added bit of comfort, you know what I mean? And it's just fun to play, and I'm always on stage singing, so I never get to play instruments, you know what I mean?
Yeah, cool. And Disease is a pretty strong title for an album.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about a little bit about like the personal meaning behind that album title?
Yeah, the album's really about just me trying to cope with my mental health, I guess, and me trying to understand it more, and just like diving into that side of my life, you know what I mean? Because it's just one of those things that people just ignore so often, and I do as well. And making a record like directly about that just kind of helped me realize a lot of things that I needed to realize in my life, and helped me overcome a lot of things.
Cool. And one of the most recent singles is You Never Know.
Mm-hmm.
And just maybe talk about that one a little bit, both
Sure.
lyrically and musically.
Yeah, that one was a really cool song to make. I worked with this guy named Drew Folk in Los Angeles, who I'd never really met before. And we went and got coffee for like 3 hours and just talked about life and talked about the things we go through, and ended up becoming really good friends on that short coffee. And we went back to the studio and wrote You Never Know in 45 minutes. And but the thing about that song that I love is musically it was really fun to make. There's like a lot of different guitar layers and a lot of just like fun kind of experimental stuff we tried in the studio, which was really cool. And then lyrically, it's just about, like, I don't know. The tagline is "You never know until you know," and it's essentially, I mean, we originally, like, the idea was kind of about having a panic attack, and because he was talking about his, girlfriend had panic attacks, and he just didn't understand that, and then he had one himself, and it was like the lights turned on, and he had like way more understanding and sympathy towards it, but I kind of turned that into, something about just going through mental struggle and like being completely at the, end of your rope.
Cool. And sometimes Beartooth gets lumped into the metalcore genre, but when you're listening to music, I think there's more elements, maybe a hardcore and punk in there. And
definitely influenced by it, yeah.
Yeah, just for someone less familiar with the band, how would you describe the music? And are there certain bands growing up that influence the sound?
I mean, my favorite band of all time is AC/DC. They're a massive influence, but I mean, there was just so many different things. It's more like music scenes that, growing up, I played a lot of different shows, and just saw so many different types of music. And for me, like, hardcore shows always had a really big impact on me because of just like, it was the craziest moshing and like people jumping off of stuff and like no rules. And so that really influenced our live show a lot. Same with like punk rock and just playing music fast and loud. And then, I don't know, I mean, obviously heavy metal bands like Slayer and bands like, Pantera and Metallica and all that good stuff. And, but yeah, I mean, anything that rocks really, I guess, just kind of was an influence.
And the album's not even a year old yet, but do you always have like kind of the creative wheels turning for the next thing?
Oh yeah, I've already written like 3 or 4 songs for like what's coming up whenever it comes up next. But yeah, for me, like, I make a record and I just shut off completely for at least like 2-3 months, but then the gears start turning again, and there's just no stopping it,